Good evening, universe. Tonight I'm going to be talking all about all of my writing goals for 2022. So I have wanted to be a published writer since I was about 8 years old, since I perceived it as a possible career avenue. My eventual goal is definitely to be able to support myself entirely by writing books. Unfortunately, it has been a while since I have completed a book. I have written and finished and edited a couple books in the past. One of them I self-published, and that was Looking Glass Lies, which is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and it's the first in a series. But it's been about like 5 or 6 years since I finished that, and I would really like to finish a new project. I have been writing, but I haven't stuck with a single project enough to finish it. There have been a lot of like seeds and beginnings, and I get to a certain point and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to finish this. Usually this comes around either like the 10,000 word mark or sometimes the 35,000 word mark. One of them I basically did like an entire first draft for, and then I decided to scrap it. But I haven't really gotten anything to what I consider an editable state. So I haven't finished any drafts enough to like sit down and really start editing it, which is what I would like to do this year. I do have a lot of ideas. Like I said, I've been planting a lot of seeds and beginning a lot of things. And so my goal for this year is really to look into one of those ideas with greater depth and really dive into it. I've been having a lot of problems with middles, I think, and figuring out what things really appeal to me, like what do I want to be writing? And that's really hard because it feels like a relatively new issue for me. Like I said, I've written books in the past. The first one that I completed was a young adult portal fantasy, and it was ridiculously long. It was like, I think 280,000 words long, which I think is about 4 times the length of the first Harry Potter book, something like that. And while that's not an unacceptable length for an established author, nobody is going to pick up a debut author for that, especially not for a portal fantasy type story, something that has definitely been seen before. If somebody was going to pick up a debut author on that, it would, one, almost certainly have to be an adult fantasy, not a YA, and it would probably have to be a really fresh, new take on something. And while I'm really proud of what I did in that storytelling, I recognize that it just wasn't enough to capture any literary agent's attention. That was intended to be a trilogy as well, so I went ahead and put that down when I realized that it was not really viable for publication. I had also been working on that for a pretty long period of time, and so I wanted to take a break and do something completely different. So then I wrote the retelling of Alice in Wonderland, where Alice is a little witch that solves crimes, because that sounded just really fun and light and great. It was intended, still kind of is intended, to be the first in a series. I wrote the first draft for the sequel. That was the one that I first drafted, but I did not like how it turned out at all. I feel the plot is not where I wanted it to be going. So I scrapped that and started writing different first drafts, and I haven't gotten to the ending of any of them yet. So I definitely want to do that sometime soon. I don't know if that's going to be the main project of 2022 or not, because I also kind of want to work on something separate. Like I said, I self-published that first one. That means that any sequels that I write are not going to be viable for traditional publication. And since that is one of my major goals as a writer, I want to have something at least somewhat in the works to possibly be sent off for traditional publication. I do lean a little bit more heavily towards YA, so most of my ideas are for a YA age range. I do have another idea that might be middle grade, but I haven't 100% decided where I want to take that idea yet. A lot of these things are just like beginnings, and I feel like that's part of my problem, is that I haven't been able to attach myself to one project and really sit down and say, okay, this is the project that I'm gonna apply all of my thought and energy to. I have done nano projects, but I haven't gotten to the 50,000 word mark yet for any of them. Last nano, I think I got to like 20-ish maybe 20 plus thousand words on a project, and that is definitely a project that I want to finish, but I'm not quite sure where I want to take it yet. Like, I have a lot of concepts for it and ideas for character arcs, but I'm not sure exactly how to get to them yet or how to reflect those in the plot. So I was kind of taking a break from it, and I think that's part of my problem, is that when I run into trouble with figuring something out, I don't continue working on the project. I just take a break and start writing something else because I really enjoy the feeling of getting words out. It makes me feel productive. But I honestly feel that my obsession with productivity has caused me to not finish anything because I haven't allowed myself to sit and daydream or think through some of the plot problems that I come across because I'm so like, oh, I gotta hit those word counts. So this year, I'm hoping to take it a little bit easier, and I'm secretly hoping by taking it easier that I can finish writing any project this year. I will probably be involved in Camp NaNoWriMo, which, if you don't know what that is, it's like an April, like, looser version of NaNoWriMo, where you basically choose what your goal is and then apply yourself to it throughout the month of April. So I am hoping to do that and maybe get a big chunk done. And yeah, those are my general goals for the year. Definitely let me know if you have any writing goals of your own. And thanks for listening to me talk about them. Have a great night, universe.